I told you guys yesterday that I wanted to talk to you about teaching your dog to give you eye contact and focus on you, right? Because truthfully, teaching your dog this, especially if you have a reactive dog, this is the most powerful thing that you can teach your dog. And it's so simple. It takes your time. It's not going to be overnight. Throughout consistency and continuously following what I'm going to tell you, you will have a dog that will look at you through anything. This is the ultimate tool for a dog, especially, as I said, the dog that is reactive. We'll talk about socialization at a later date because people get socialization wrong and over-socialize dogs like 99% of the time. It's a strange thing that we hold dogs to a higher standard than we hold ourselves, right? So your dog has to like every single dog and every single person, or to society, he's a mean dog or a bad dog. But ask yourself, do you like every single person that you meet? You definitely don't. So your dog doesn't have to either. That's not the mark of a social dog, I wouldn't say. But I may have a different perspective on what social means than what you would. To me, social means that my dog can tolerate anything, right? So like I always use General as a prime example, because people think he loved dogs. He really didn't. He could tolerate any situation and not have a reaction to it. That's the mark of a good social dog, at least to me. We'll talk about that another time. If we can talk about socialization and over-socialization, fixation, all these things, we can talk about it at a later date. I just simply want to tell you guys about how you can start to get your dog to give you eye contact and to focus on you. An extremely powerful thing to be able to teach your dog. The first thing that you want to do, like at my house, we have food placed like randomly around my house in like bowls and containers. So if I'm, walking by and I see something that I like that one of my dogs doing, I can easily mark that. So assuming you know what a mark is, a sound to a dog that predicts that they did something correct, or a sound to a dog that predicts that they did something incorrect. A lot of people use clickers. I personally don't use clickers just because I'm forgetful and like I'd have to have it with me all the time, and I don't. So I just use my mouth. I just use a word. You could use yes, okay. It doesn't really matter. It's the sound that the dog is conditioning to. They don't actually speak English, so it doesn't matter what you want to say. But yes is very typical that we use, so it's pretty easy. Yes or okay or whatever you want to use. So what you want to do is, let's say your dog's in your living room with you. Okay, so you go into your living room and you have a handful of dog treats. You put them in your pocket. You don't necessarily want to like announce to the dog that you got a whole bunch of dog treats. Swiftly take some treats, put them in your pocket, go into the room with the dog, and as soon as that dog looks at you, mark reward. Then generally I'll turn around and I'll go somewhere else in the room. I may sit down, then stand back up. But all I'm waiting for is as soon as that dog takes his head, looks up at me, I mark that, I reward that. And you continuously do this throughout random parts of your day. You can do it when you're out and about. You can do this anywhere. But anytime that dog looks at you, you mark that. Okay? So you mark that as a positive thing. They look at you, you mark it. To build off of that, because dogs learn very incrementally, right? So they learn in steps. You wouldn't just like all of a sudden, all right, now let's go to the dog park and try to do the shot. Like that's not how it works, right? So step by step by step. So something that I might do next, like I'll use like a big beach ball, or like it could be anything. I'll take like a big Tupperware or something that they're not used to being in their space. I'll put it there because what it's going to do is the dog is naturally going to go up to this object. They're going to investigate. It's going to be some form of distraction, right? But a small distraction, enough to where I'm going to easily be able to redirect their attention right to me. And as soon as they turn and they look at you and they give you eye contact, you mark that, you give the reward. And what we're going to do is little by little, we're going to build up into different things. The key is do not do this too early. Just really at first, just work on this for a week, 2 weeks. Just consistently, your dog looks to you, you give them food. Your dog looks to you, you give them food. And it's key that you understand the timing in classical conditioning, that conditioning is not actually happening if you're not doing it correctly. When you are marking something, it's important that it's not yes at the same time. It's important that it's yes, food. It's like 0.5 seconds in between that you're waiting, that the dog's going to associate that sound with, oh, this is correct. I did something right. That's actually very vital. And it's difficult to train the brain to do that sometimes because naturally it's yes, you know what I mean? So it's yes, food. That's how it needs to be. Again, incrementally, we are going to build on this, and we're going to add in different things, right? So I might even bring a person now, bring them into the room, have them just be standing in the room. Again, the dog's going to do the same thing. They're going to go, they're going to be happy, whatever it is. They're going to investigate this person. As soon as they turn, they look to you, you mark, you reward that. If you do this and you build off of this for the next month, 2 months, you just continuously do this with your dog, you are going to now have the most powerful tool that you can possibly have, where your dog knows that when they look at you, they win. So you can utilize this in any situation now. And this is where I'll go back to general, where you remember the video of us at this random dog parks where you see dogs coming up and sniffing his face and he just literally doesn't even flinch. That's because we worked on the power of focusing on me and giving me eye contact. And when you have a dog like that, they will literally block out everything else that is going on. We then teach dogs that when we're healing, they can look at you. I know you've seen focus heals, so you can then the dog's in a heel, you can tell them to look, they're going to look up at you, and you can literally walk through anything. I mean, I could walk down a street where there was dogs chasing balls, there was clowns doing backflips, kids screaming and yelling, and the dog literally won't even flinch. Once you get to that point, the dog won't flinch. And I know to a lot of people, like when you see the stuff with general, you feel like, oh my God, it's magic. I'd love to just take all the praise in the world and be like, oh my God, I'm just God's gift to dogs, and you know what I mean? But it's not really the case. It's just a matter of the fact that I follow the system, right? And I put in the work behind the dogs. A lot of the time, people just want instant gratification. That's another thing that's very dangerous when it comes to dog training is expectation. Don't place expectation, just do the work and enjoy the process. It's been a month. He should be doing this. Don't do that. So these are the things where people get it wrong, okay, is expectation. But there's no magic that I'm pulling. There's no magic tricks. It's literally a system that we follow, and we are consistent, right? That's what dogs understand. Consistency, marks, body language, right? That is how you communicate with dogs, okay? They don't speak English. They don't understand your anger. They don't understand your frustrations. If you correct with any form of frustration, make sure that when you're working with the dog, you're in a good, clear state of mind. Once you start to really work on this, I'm telling you, the power of this is incredible. Like you'll see situations where your dog used to react. All of a sudden, you're just going to tell your dog, look. They're going to look right to you, or whatever it is. It can be whatever command you want. What you're going to do after the dog really starts to get it down is then you're going to pair the command to it. Generally, when we train dogs, at least here, right, until I see that they're doing it correctly, I don't associate a command to it. It's just going to be them making eye contact with me and marking it. I'm not going to tell them look. I'm not going to tell them anything. They're just going to look to me. I'm going to feed them. Once I see that they really, like every time I come in the room and I'm around, they're looking at me. And they really start to get it down. Once I like it, I name it. Okay, so when I see that the dog does it in a consistent manner in the way that I like, then I'm going to give that action a command. And what this is essentially doing is the dog never got it wrong. And that's a very powerful thing. The dog never did it wrong. If I'm giving the dog a command, it's the same thing where when we're talking about recalls, I haven't put this video out yet, but when we talk about recalls, if you call your dog when you know they're not going to come, you're simply just making your voice weaker. So it's the same thing when it comes to just trying to tell the dog to do commands. Don't quite understand the full association with what you're talking about, then you're actually giving corrections and they're doing it wrong in those moments. Now, a lot of people do this. So not to say like loads of different things work for other people. When it comes to dog training, like first of all, the only thing most dog trainers are going to agree on is what the other one's doing wrong for the most part. That's pretty much how it works. So like loads of people are going to do things different. And the truth about dogs is it really depends on the dog and the person. And there's a lot of different methods and things that may work differently for other people. But people will argue that until they're blue in the face. Anyways, there's all the information for you. If you practice these things, I promise you, your relationship with your dog is going to improve. And if you have a reactive dog, you are no longer going to have to deal with that issue in the way that you were used to. It will make your life so much easier. But you can subscribe to my page, Marlon Grennan. Join my class. I have a private group where you can actually post videos of your dogs, and then I can see directly how you are working with your dog. And why I actually like to do that is because, no offense to anybody, but the way that you may describe a dog problem or what your dog's doing is actually not what's going on. So if I can actually see it, then I can really have a much better foot to really be able to help you and give you the proper advice and point you in the right direction. Good luck with it, and I promise you, if you work on this, your life will improve with your dog. So good luck, y'all.